Hi, guys. Sifu Mark here, and I just want to ask you to please press that thumbs up button and also subscribe if you aren't already. On today's chat, this episode, we speak a bit with the lineage holder of the Blue Dragon Qi Gong System. He's been studying and teaching for the past 40 years and shows no sign of slowing down. He's also an acupuncturist, a family care physician, a doctor of Oriental Medicine, and a former dean of Oriental Medicine studies at Barna College of Health Sciences. He has authored many books and created many programs to help fuel his mission of spreading Taoist Medical Qi Gong to the world. Please welcome Dr. George Xavier Love. How are you doing, sir?
I'm wonderful. It's such a pleasure to be here with someone who's interesting and engaging as yourself.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm very honored to hear those words come out of your mouth. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, as you stated earlier, I know you've been a busy man today. You've seen many patients, so let's go ahead and get straight to the questions so we can get out to you here, doctor. Thank you very much for your time. So let's go ahead and start. How did you get into the martial arts, my friend?
Well, I was a big Bruce Lee fan, and I watched all the Bruce Lee movies. And I had a friend in the neighborhood who was half black, half Korean, and his father let him set up a dojo in their garage. And whatever we saw Bruce Lee did, we tried to do the same thing. So nunchucks and eskrima sticks and the bag on the wall and the punching and then toughening up and the whole iron shirt. And then that was what we call Jeet Kune Do. Then we went to Taekwondo because that was a formal school that was Korean martial arts with a lot of jumping and kicking and what have you. And then I learned Goju. And then I moved to New York and I met my Qigong master, Master Li Bingwan. And after, 3 or 4 months, he said to me, no more sparring for you. He says, I'm going to teach you something very special. He said, it's easy to break bones, it's harder to heal bones. So he made me a closed door student. So about a year and a half, he made me a closed door student. And then I became private. So he still had his regular classes, but I was a private student. So he saw something in me, obviously, that I didn't see in myself. And then after about 6 years of training with him, after 5 years of training with him, he said, I don't want you to think that I'm the only one who knows anything. So I want you to take a year off and study with other teachers. So I was like, whoa, are you kicking me out of school, teacher? I was really upset. So he says, no, I want you to study with other teachers. I don't want you to think that I'm the only one. So I studied with Don An, I studied with Bob Flaws, I studied with Ken Cohn. I studied with longtime men in Hawaii. Can't think of his name right now. But I spent a year going around studying with other teachers. And then I came back to Master Li and I said, you are the one. There's no one that has the depth and the breadth of knowledge that you have. So he said, okay, now I'm going to teach you even more. And I was like, whoa, after 6 years, I thought I knew everything. So he explained that the communists did not want him to teach Qigong. And he was imprisoned and beaten and tortured every day for 8 years for teaching Qigong. So he was very cautious. And he said, I can't allow people with low character to learn my family Qigong. Now, I didn't know what low character was. I was thinking low character is somebody who smokes and drinks and hangs out on the corner, but he had a different viewpoint of what low character is, which is manipulating people, taking advantage of people. So there was a high moral code that he lived by. And one of the things he said is, don't write it down, memorize it. Don't record me, memorize it. And, you know, you can't graduate from college unless you're a good note taker. But he wouldn't let me take notes. He said, well, you're writing stuff down, you're missing something. All eyes on me. So I was like, whoa, he was a very hard taskmaster. So one day the granddaughter comes from China. The granddaughter wants to be part of the office. I thought I was going to inherit his office, but less than a year, I figured out she was going to take over the office. So I decided I'm going to move to Florida and start all over again. And I did that. And then 4 years later, he calls me on the phone. The granddaughter got killed in a car accident. The wife had a stroke, was in a nursing home. And could I please come back to New York and work with him again? So I said, Master Lee, I've created a whole new life for myself now. I don't think I want to go back to New York. And he said, I'm going to die in 90 days. You must come back now. And I was like, whoa. So canceled all my patients, jumped on a plane, flew to New York. Okay, Master Lee, what's going on? And that's when he tells me that he was going to die from injuries that he had gotten while he was in prison. And that he was going to transmit his family lineage to me. And I was like, don't you have a grandson, granddaughter? You have somebody else? Because that was a big responsibility. I didn't really want that responsibility. I wanted to do acupuncture, do Qigong for me, and call it a day. And he said, do not let my family Qigong die. I've chosen you out of all my students. And I was like, wow. So I had this responsibility and I didn't want it. And at that point, I had been doing it for like 11 years. And he said, you're it. So I said, but don't you have to be like 20 years to be a master? He says, I've taught you everything. You don't have anything to worry about. Now, there were some things that he had said along the way. Teach this, don't teach this. Teach this, don't teach this. So I said, why can't I teach that? And he said, people of low character should not learn that. So I was like, okay, whatever you say, Master Lee. So on his deathbed, he calls me and says, everything I told you not to teach, you have permission to teach. He said, your people are being taken advantage of by your government. So the people need to know the truth. They need to know how to defend themselves. They need to know how to heal themselves. So he died. I got an invitation to the funeral. I found out he had 2 sons, 2 living sons, both of which had their own Qigong lineage, but not their father's. So as I start asking questions, I find out that father fell out with son 1, who was a member of the Communist Party. Father fell out with son 2, who had issues because he didn't marry a Chinese girl. So they were very happy that I was continuing their father's lineage.
Wow.
So that's about it.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That's a great story, my sir. That's a great story. So if you don't mind me asking, so So the Blue Dragon Qi Gong, it is a family style from Master Lee, correct?
Yes.
So what exactly makes it different from other Qigong systems?
Okay. So, number one, it is meridian based. So, all of the movements work through acupuncture meridians. So, you've got the 12 regular meridians, you've got 12 tendinomuscular meridians, and you've got 12 divergent meridians. So there's 12, 12, 12. That's 36. Then you've got 8 extra meridians. That's 44. 4 plus 4 is 8, and 8 is the magic number of good luck. So it's mystical, it's spiritual. It does have martial elements to it, but the main focus is healing. So what makes it different is that it's specifically for healing muscles, bones, joints, organs, and the 3 treasures. So treasure 1 is called Shen, which is the neuromuscular and the musculoskeletal system, neuroendocrine and the musculoskeletal system. Then there's the Qi field, which is the circulatory and the respiratory. And then there's the Jing field, which is the digestive and the reproductive. So those are called the 3 treasures, which are actually 6 systems. Okay. Now, everything that we do, every movement that we make, plus cosmic, plus food and water, plus heaven, plus earth, all coalesce in the Jing field, which is about 4 fingers below your belly button. So from the Jing field, we want to pull it up to the Qi field, from the Qi field to the Shen field, and then back down to the Jing. So Jing, Qi, Shen, Qi, Jing, Qi, Shen, Qi. So we want this energy constantly circulating. Now, the mysterious thing is called Qi. What is Qi? Oh, Qi is energy. All right. Can we define that a little more succinctly? Qi is the mitochondria. And if you took college biology, you know that mitochondria make adenosine triphosphate known as ATP, which is responsible for the energy of the cell and cellular respiration. Qi is literally translated as breath, and Gong is translated as work. So Qi Gong is breath work. Now, what is the muscle that makes the lungs work? The diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits below the belly button, and when you breathe out, the diaphragm pushes the air out of the bottom of the lungs. And when the air goes out, the deoxygenated blood goes in. So when you breathe in, the lungs expand and the diaphragm collapses. So breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. That's the first lesson in Qigong. Now, I'm sure you've heard of fire breath. So fire breath is rapid breathing. Now, that exercise strengthens the diaphragm. Now, we say that the heart is a pump. The heart is a valve. The blood pumps the heart. So the Chinese say the qi and the blood move together, which is the mitochondria. The qi moves the blood, and the blood pumps the heart. Qi and blood flow together. Qi moves the blood, and the blood pumps the heart. Now, let's break that down anatomically. When you breathe in, what happens to the blood? It gets pushed into the heart. When you breathe in, the diaphragm collapses. The blood goes into the heart. Now, this blood literally falls into the heart. Now, you know what a waterfall is. So you've got this body of water that's moving nice and slow, and then there's a waterfall. So that blood falls into the heart. Now, the heart does this. And that little bit of this pushes the blood into the aorta. The aorta has a branch. And again, waterfall. And then that blood shoots up into the carotid. And the carotid supplies 3/5 of all the blood to the brain. So, waterfall, waterfall. Now, in the last 2 years, Western science has determined that the force of the heart does not equal the force of the blood flow. So the blood flow is stronger than the heart is pumping. How could that be? It's the waterfall. So it's the lungs and then the aortic. And that has to come from the diaphragm. So your blood pressure comes from the diaphragm. Now, I explained that to you in 5 minutes. Do you think you could have learned that when you were 12, 13, 14 years old?
Definitely not. Well, to be honest, no, really, no. I probably would not have understood it to the amount of to my understanding that I have now.
Okay.
Parts of that would have gone over my head, definitely. Right.
Okay.
But,
possible. Now, when we exercise, we're using the pectoralis muscle, which pushes in on the lungs. When we exercise, we're using the scapula or the shoulder blade, which pushes into the back of the heart. So lung, heart, lung, heart. So if you're doing Qi cup exercises, which is obviously a Qi Gong exercise, you are literally massaging the pec, which is the lung, and the scapula, which is the heart. What's the number one cause of death in America? Heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure. If you did this 15 minutes every day for 20 years, guess what would happen? You would never get heart disease or lung cancer. Prevention is the only cure. Now, you've seen this. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. You've seen that before. Okay, that's called alternate nose breathing. Yes? Okay, and anybody who's ever been to a yoga class knows this exercise. The thumb is connected to the lung. So lung 1, lung 2, lung 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the lung is connected to the thumb. The large intestine is connected to the index finger. The nostril is connected to the lung. The large intestine meridian starts on the index finger and comes down and ends right next to the nose. So this alternate nose breathing is connecting in Chinese medicine the lung and the large intestine. That's Chinese medicine. Qi Gong is Chinese medicine. Now, I said earlier that there was surface channels, there was mid channels, and there was deep channels. Qigong works on the surface. Anything inside of your body had to start on the surface. Can't start in the middle, right? Now, when we do acupuncture, we are inserting a needle 1/4 to a 1/2 inch. That's the mid. But they didn't invent acupuncture pins until 500 years ago. So what were they doing for 4,500 years if they weren't using acupuncture pins? Heat, which is moxa, pressure, sound waves, magnets, light. Okay, they were using 8 different ways of manipulating energy from the surface to the mid. And that is what is Qigong. And that's why the blue dragon is different. Because it heals the organs, it heals the joints, it heals the muscles, heals the bones, and it heals the 3 treasures. A body
all
and
simultaneously. I was saying all simultaneously. All simultaneously.
All simultaneously.
All right, so it's not just one or the other, it's everything all together. Okay. So in essence, I'm sorry to give an off the beat question. So is that what medical Qigong is? It's medical Qigong is Qigong that works not only on the Qi, but works on the whole organism itself, organs, all the different systems. You said that 6 different systems, you said, right?
Exactly.
All right, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Thank you very much, Doctor, for clarifying that on what Blue Dragon Qi Gong is. So, the next question for you there, Doctor. Right, knowing that Kung Fu, right, not necessarily applies only to martial arts, because the term literally means skill acquired over time, right? What do you believe, sir, is the hardest part of developing one's Kung Fu?
Okay, so Gong comes from Gong, depending on your dialect and what part of China you come from. So, as you said, Fu is hard work. So Gong Fu is skill. So Gong Fu is something that you worked at a long time. As you said, an acquired skill. So if my daughter plays the violin for 20 years, that's her Gong Fu. If my other daughter becomes a professional ice skater, that's her Kung Fu, right? If you become a table tennis champion, that's your Kung Fu, all right? So Kung Fu is anything that you apply your time, attention, and energy to. Now, if we go back in time 1,000 years, the monks would travel from village to village, healing people, not bringing the Buddhist message of peace and harmony, because people are like trying to survive. They're trying to eat. So I can't come with, okay, you should pray and meditate and put this little statue and light this candle. They're like, get out of here. But if I come and say, does anybody have a sore shoulder? Does anybody have a elbow problem? Does anybody have a knee problem? And I treat them for free. Now you're curious about me and why am I doing this? And then I can teach you the positive spiritual path of how to live your life so you don't get injured. Now, your question is, what is the hardest part of Kung Fu? And that's the intention. The hardest part is creating the intention and being committed to seeing it through. Now, I've seen some things that completely blow my mind. I've seen somebody shoot a bow and somebody catch the arrow multiple times. Shoot the bow, catch the arrow, shoot the bow, catch the arrow. I'm like, what? That's a skill. I'm not letting you shoot an arrow at me. But that's a skill, okay? And we've all seen the guy with the sword, the Japanese guy with the sword that hits the bullet. I don't know. I'd have to be there, but I've seen it enough times and I've seen different people do it. So I don't think it's a trick, but that's a skill. I saw, not my master, but I saw some other masters take a dozen eggs, like 3 dozen eggs, end to end to end, and walk across and not break any of the eggshells. I've seen that. I saw another guy stick metal through his arm and then hang a bucket of water from the 2 ends of the metal going through his arm, and then pull it out, no blood. And I was the guy who stuck the metal through his arm. I was the guy who put the bucket there and then pulled it out, and there was no blood. So I've seen some fantastic things. That is Kung Fu. And the guy that did that was in prison for 20 years in China, also for teaching Qigong. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we have no knowledge of, no awareness of, and when we hear it, we like, oh, I don't believe that. That can't be. Yeah. If you apply time, energy, and intention, it's just like you've seen the guys run up the wall and run across the roof without breaking the shingles. That's a skill. It takes 10 years to run up a wall, walk on the roof without breaking any of the shingles. Now, my question is, what is that going to get you? Okay? So better we should learn something to where we can lift people up. And that's why you are doing such a good job, Sifu Mark, because you're bringing people to a point where they're being exposed to stuff they would have never been exposed to. And I applaud you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. You know, one of my last interviews I did with Master David Wei out in California. And one of the lasting things that he had he had said in the interview that is the motto of his school, right? And it just applies to what you said, right? It was I think it was to quote. I hope I'm not quoting badly, right? It was show up, shut up, and add value. Right?
I remember him saying that. Show up, shut up, add value. Exactly. Because you can't learn anything while you're talking. And you certainly can't learn anything if you don't show up. So I told Sifu David I was coming to Oakland. So he let all of his students know that I was coming. 40 people showed up. And he said, Master Love, I rarely get more than 10 people. But when my students heard you were coming, 40 people came out of the woodwork.
That's great. That shows your reputation, Dr. Love. It definitely does. Speaking of your reputation, I did an interview with one of your students, one of your past students, in my second season, Dr. Jonathan Fields.
Oh, yes. He was one of my first, he was the first person I certified.
Oh, wow.
That right, was like 12, that was 2011. I certified him as a Blue Dragon instructor. So it's 13 years. Yeah, 13 years ago.
Wow, that's good. And he's still teaching it, and he's still going on strong with his practice over here in I think it's Tamarack and in Boca Raton, I believe.
Well, funny story. On the 28th, the last Sunday, I'm having my Sifu Summit. So all of the people I've certified are going to be there. And of course, Jonathan is going to be a main speaker.
Awesome stuff. That's really awesome. So, Doctor, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get back into this interview, because I'm very interested to know something, right? Speaking of your past year and speaking of a little bit of your Sifu before good Dr. Lee, I'd love to know, how has your Qigong / martial training benefited your professional career or your personal career?
That's an excellent question. I never thought of a career. I never thought of money. I never thought, I knew I was never going to get rich doing acupuncture. I already figured that out early on, like the first year. So acupuncture is a tool. The science is the science of longevity. So I figured out, if I teach people how to live, how to improve their lifestyle, that was more important than doing acupuncture. So I'm going to give you two examples. One, this guy comes in and he said, my foot gets blisters. So I said, how often? He said, every week, same day, the top of my foot breaks out in blisters. I said, what do you do the day before that? And he says, oh, my wife has a hair salon and I fill in for her so she can have a day off. And I said, so what do you do when you're in the hair salon? He said, oh, next door, there's this Mexican place and they have these hot peppers and I love these hot peppers. So I said, on Tuesday, you eat the hot peppers and on Wednesday, your foot breaks out. Do me a favor, don't eat the hot peppers next time you fill in for your wife. I didn't treat him. He comes back. He says, my foot didn't break out. I said, okay, $50. He's like, no, I'm not paying you. You didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I fixed your problem. No, never mind. I'm not paying you. Second question, 70-year-old woman comes in and she says, my shoulder hurts. I said, okay. And she's like, no, I don't want any needles. I'm scared of needles. Can you just like touch it or something? So I said, how do you sleep? On your back, oh, I sleep on my side. Which side do you sleep on? Oh, the side that hurts. Do me a favor. Over the weekend, sleep on the other side. Come back and see me on Monday. She comes back on Monday. She's like, my shoulder pain went away. I said, okay, that's $100. No, you didn't do anything. So I'm helping you get out of pain, and yet you don't want to pay me unless I stick a needle in you. Now, Sifu Mark, you know that doesn't make any sense. And yet, that's human nature. So I tell people now, I do a one needle technique. Who's going to fix all the problems. And I put the needle in the top of their head, and then I tell them a story, and then I give them 3 Qigong exercises to do. And I said, okay, you're going to do Qi cups. You're going to soar over the lake. You're the crane flying over the lake. And then you're going to clean your lymphatic system. So 3 Qigong exercises and 1 pin, 150. Okay. So your question was, how has Qigong enhanced my career? There's your answer.
I understand. Doctor, that goes hand in hand with my Shifu, Master Stephen Hua. He has always, he loves explaining that martial arts and Qigong are 2 different disciplines, right? And that nowadays Qigong and Tai Chi are blended together. And he's a very big advocate of not blending the 2, right? Because my grandmaster, Yang Weibyo, he was the same way. Qigong and Tai Chi are 2 separate disciplines. Don't combine them, right? But since Tai Chi was when it was considered a martial art, right? And martial artists, they really lost a lot of. This is speaking mostly in China. They lost a lot of their employ. Because of the advent of the gun, right? Everybody has a gun now. Nobody needs bodyguard companies and stuff like that, or protection services. So in order to get more students to in order to make a living, right? They have to resort to, as you say, pageantry, right? Creating flair. Mm-hmm. To make it seem exciting before they can get some students, so they can make some money to support their family. Same thing, I guess, in your instance with I would call it the 1 needle pageantry. Put it right there, make them feel as if something's happening, but the real magic is the actual Qigong exercises, right, where they don't realize that. So I think it's brilliant. I think that's brilliant. You're helping, but they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm. So, Tai Chi obviously is a martial art. Wow, his name just jumped right out of my memory bank. Was teaching at the UN. So this is 81, 82, 83. This Tai Chi master is teaching at the UN. And I'm going to his classes at the UN. These 2 Chinese guys come out of nowhere and challenge him. And they say, you're teaching fake Tai Chi. Because he was advertising it as Tai Chi for health. He wasn't advertising it as martial. Because in the UN, none of those diplomats is going to be a martial artist. So he's teaching Tai Chi for health. So these 2 Chinese guys challenge him, and we're like, whoa. So he said, let's go outside. So they go outside, and he sinks into his posture, and he does, and they do this. And he never moves a muscle. Never. And then finally, the one guy bows and says, oh, he got down on his knees and touched his head to the floor and said, can I become your student? And everybody was like, what happened? There was no blows. There was no punches thrown. And this guy submitted. And he said the master had no opening. There was nowhere to attack. And all he did was stand. He just had a stance. That was it. Just one stance. So that's fighting without fighting. Because when you know who you are and you can integrate between heaven and earth, there's no way you can be attacked. Okay? Now, my master was what's the word? I can't remember. This judo guy said, I challenge you. So my master said, okay. So you know judo, they want to grab you and turn you. So my master just did this. The whole time, the judo guy is grabbing him and twisting him. This is all he did. And the judo guy could not flip him. And after about 3 minutes, the judo guy gave up. So, I mean, this was early on when I was I was a brand new student, and my eyes were like this big. I'm like, how did he do that? Because you could see the judo guy was like, and my master was just. So I asked him later, he said, when he tried to lift me, I sunk my chi. And when he tried to push me, I lifted my chi. So all I did was do the opposite of what he did. And when he tried to throw me to the right, I twisted to the left. Equal force. So fighting without fighting. Now, Qi Gong does have martial application. So there is spirit, there's medicine, and there's defense. Shan, Wu, Yi. Yi is medicine, Wu is defense, and Shan is spirit. So Qi Gong is spirit, defense, and medicine. Now, when you wrap your head around all that, wow. So what's the medicine again? Is there a textbook? Can I read? Can I look up? Oh, asthma. Can I look that up in the textbook? And then no, we don't treat symptoms. We treat systems. So I'm going to teach your respiratory system. I'm not going to treat your asthma. Okay? Now, I'm angry at the world. My mother died. My father abandoned me. My relatives turned their back on me. I was rejected and betrayed. So now I'm in this completely emotional, dysregulated state. How can I function? How can I keep a job? How can I feed myself if I'm emotionally dysregulated? So Qigong has to calm the spirit. If you can't calm the spirit, then you can't flow. Okay? Now, defense. So what is the weakest part of your body? We think it's down here, but it's here. Because your trachea, your larynx, the sternocleidomastoid, where the carotid artery is, where the thyroid is, where the all this is in the neck. So if I do this, 4 fingers. Now, which one of these 4 is going to hit you? Even if you move, one of those 4 fingers is going to hit you. The most important muscle is the diaphragm. So again, diaphragm, throat, diaphragm. Now, my master could throw 18 punches in 1 second. 18. We timed it. Can I throw 18 punches in 1 second? No, I'm not even going to try. But the level of competition, the level of trained people has also gone down significantly. So if I see somebody and I can tell by the way they move, I'm going to humble myself. I'm not going to fight somebody who clearly has created that intention and that professional attitude to be a fighter. I'm a healer, not a fighter. But if you attack my mother, my little brother, my girlfriend, Now, different story. I will not defend myself, but I will defend the weak, protect the innocent. That's the motto. Defend the weak, protect the innocent. If I die, oh well, I died trying. Today was a good day to die. So although Qigong is not a martial art, it is a defensive art.
Okay. So my question to that, Dr. Love, right, is that as it being the Wu aspect as we're talking about with Qigong, right? Would you say that the what they do in Shaolin, their martial brand of Qigong is to actually harden the skin or harden specific parts as to not let the spears pierce or the sword cut the skin?
Yes, iron body, iron shirt. Okay, now let's go back 500 years. What was the average lifespan of a Chinese in the 1500s, 1400s?
Probably short.
50, 55 at the most. Okay, emperor's family excluded, but general population, 50, 55. So you could stand in horse stance for hours, right? You could have a big pot of sand with a fire underneath of it and do that for hours. And now, hands of steel. What woman is going to let you touch her with hands of steel?
That's a good point.
I want none of those fingers anywhere near me, Joe. So, yeah, all those things are possible. All those things happen. But are they in regulation? Are they in harmony with your life? Are you going to get married and have kids with that iron shirt? No, I'm defending the temple. I'm defending the castle. You know, I'm part of the king's guard, and I'm going to defend that with my life. And typically, those guys didn't have wives and families. Okay? Because how can you serve your wife and serve your Lord at the same time? You can't. So, you know, we have to put things in perspective. All right? So, in Shaolin, yes. Now, in Shaolin, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 87 weapons or 81 weapons or 97. There was a big number of weapons that Shaolin had, but you only had to master 3 in your lifetime. So you have 20 years to master 3 weapons. Okay? So Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who knows 10,000 moves. I fear the man who knows 1 move, but has practiced it 10,000 times. Okay? Now, here's my self-defense. I grab my own throat and I pull on it. I pull on my own throat and I find out where the weak parts are. I find out what's tender. I find out what makes me cough, which unhinges my jaw. And I keep practicing on myself in the weird chance that somebody grabs me by the throat. You will not choke me out. But because I know how to grab my own throat, I can hit you in the solar plexus. And when I hit you in the solar plexus, what are you going to do? Then I'm going to grab your throat. And these fingers are iron. This is called dragon claw. This is called eagle claw. So I'm going to dragon claw. And now I have control. I'm not going to kill you, but I have control. I'm going to make you get down on your knees. All right? That's self-defense. That's not martial training. That's self-defense. So the throat and the diaphragm are the two weakest areas of the body. And I'm going to take the wire, you know, the wire beaters, the Montauk Chia sells them. And I'm going to beat my solar plexus.
Okay.
And I'm going to practice strengthening the two weakest areas of my body. Now, in a fight, everybody wants to do this. That's bone. But if you do this and you hit the carotid artery, 1 second, blood not getting to the brain, boop, bye-bye. Okay? So, Shan, Wu, Yi. Spirit, defense, medicine. If we do that, that's all you need.
Understandable. So these are the three specific areas that Qigong needs to address, and they're all addressed in Blue Dragon Qi Gong.
That is correct.
All right. So my next question for you now is let's go ahead and reiterate those parts again. So we have the Shen, we have the Wu, and the Yi. So with all three of those aspects and everything that they encompass, Doctor, if you could teach the new generations of aspiring Qigong students, martial arts students, only one thing, whether it be a philosophy or it could be a technique, what would it be?
The one thing would be the meridians, the muscle meridians on the surface of the skin.
Why, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, so there's a point on the front of your shoulder. It's not connected to any meridian, but internally, it's connected to a point 4 fingers below your belly button, which is called the C of Qi. So if you know that this point is connected to this point, I can immobilize you. There's a point on the top of your shoulder, which is called gallbladder 21. You've seen the movies where the guy karate chops the neck, or Mr. Spock touches you and you pass out. Well, that's that same point. All right. Now, if you learn the meridian, you're going to master the point. I'm not going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to teach you how to get to that point. So the most, you said I can only teach one thing. That would be the thing I teach, is the meridians and the points.
And you know, with that explanation, Doctor, I fully understand why you would only teach the meridian thing if it was just one thing. Because if you don't mind me asking, is it would be correct to juxtapose the word meridian for channel?
Yes.
Right. So if you're learning, or muscle, or what was the last word?
Vessel or net.
Vessel and net. Okay. So I'm supposing, Doctor, if you are teaching the whole channel, right? Mm-hmm. Not just the 1 or 2 points along it, right? Mm-hmm. There's so many other benefits that can come with learning the whole channel.
Exactly.
I completely understand.
Now, there's a point right here which lowers heat. So if somebody had a fever or they were about to come down with a cold, I would do it here.
I'm sorry.
If I went 3 fingers down to this point, and this is tender, that would open up my whole shoulder. Anyway, it's 3 fingers down from that point. Now, you've seen the one where you go to shake hands and then you grab the thumb, chin na, where you go to shake hands and the guy grabs your thumb. You're immobilizing. So chin na is joint immobilization. You can't master that unless you know the meridian. So just showing the joint locks, I mean, you can get a picture book of just the joint locks. How do you get from point A to point B? You have to know the meridian. Okay, you can't just like grab somebody. So you have to touch them in a way that, okay. So it's sort of like, so if you threw a punch at me, I might let you hit me and then trap you. So you're gonna punch me, I'm gonna trap you, and now I'm gonna pull you. I'm gonna pull you. I just wanna get away. So I'm gonna learn how to take a punch and how to deflect the energy, okay? Or if you straight punch me in the chest, this is defense. So trap, so I'm gonna trap you, and then I'm gonna push you. That's defense. That's not martial, it's just defense.
I'm understanding. That's very good. That's a very good answer. It's a very good answer. And all of that stems from knowledge of the meridians.
Right. If you don't know the meridians, you'll be doing this and you'll be stiff. And that was the other thing that Bruce Lee taught. He said, before I learned, a punch was just a punch and a kick was just a kick. But after I learned, a punch was just a punch. A kick was just a kick. So once you learn the meridians, then you know the leg extension, all right? So we talk about kicking. So we practice kicking, side kick, front kick, snap kick. We practice all that. But I know the meridian says your big toe is your liver and your spleen. So if I gently step on your big toe, what are you gonna do? If I gently step on your big toe, not stomp on it, but gently, how are you gonna react? You're either gonna wanna pull your foot back or you're gonna wanna push me. One of two things. If you're a martial artist, you're gonna wanna push me. If you're not a martial artist, you're gonna wanna step back. I know what to do next in any case. So if I step on your toe and you go to push me, I'm gonna step to the side. Again, I'm not stomping on your toe, I'm just stepping on your toe, and I'm short-circuiting your liver meridian, which controls your muscles. So me stepping on your big toe weakens your entire muscular energy. There's no way you could possibly know that. There's no martial art school in the world that will teach you that, because they don't teach the meridians in any of the martial arts schools. So I can short circuit your energy.
Just by stepping on the big toe.
Just by stepping on your big toe.
That's fantastic information. That's fantastic information. Because every now and again, there are some in push hands, right? Friendly push hands gatherings. There's some little tricks you come across with other practitioners who like to do stuff like that. Step on your big toe, and then they like to push you or try and off balance you right after there. Now I understand why. See, learn new things every day. Thank you very much, there, doctor. All right. So with all of that said, right, I'm still wrapping my head around it because it's a great answer, right? About the meridian system. If there was only one thing you would teach, then that would be it. Right, but we have to get into our last question, doctor, right? If someone needs to get in touch with you and wants to learn about the Blue Dragon Qi Gong system, how do they get in contact with you?
Okay, so if they just want to get in contact with me, you go to meetdrlove.com. DRLOVE.com. If you want to sign up for the course, go to loveqigong.com. If you want to get certified in the Blue Dragon system. Now, I got to tell you, I have 3 students who studied with other masters for 8 years. And when they met me, literally within 3 weeks, they're like, forget this guy, I'm going with Dr. Love. It was like instantaneous. And all 3 had Chinese masters. All 3 had Chinese masters. And they dropped their Chinese masters to study with me. So obviously there's some body of knowledge that I have that's not common knowledge. And since none of this stuff is in books, or they're in books, they're just not in English. They're not in American English. Yeah.
All right, no problem.
LoveQigong.com to get the course. If you just want to communicate with me, go to meetdrlove.com.
All right, that's great. Information for Dr. Love will be in the description down below. Also in the description down below, guys, will be a link for FeiYue shoes. If you need a pair of FeiYue shoes, go ahead and click that link down below, get the best prices, get the best deals, all at FeiYue shoes. Dr. George Xavier Love, thank you very much, sir, for spending your time with me and educating me about the Blue Dragon Qi Gong system.
The pleasure is all mine, Sifu Mark.